record button and let's get started. We have quite a few people on the line. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to, or good morning or good evening, depending on where you're at in the world. Welcome to another Black Belt Business webinar, and this time we're actually going to talk about business owner mindset. And you probably noticed that all my previous webinars are about how-tos or different marketing campaigns or different KPIs you need to put in place, all hands on stuff. And I never really talk about mindset a lot. People, I always do some marketing. Whenever I go to networking events, I go, look, I'm not one of these fluffy business gurus that, are going to sit you down and make you hum on a mountain and, sit there and, veg out for ages and that will get you success. I'm the type of person that always believe that success comes with action. You've probably read the book The Secret. If you haven't, it's not a bad book to watch, or there's a video there, and they talk about, right, I had a vision board, and on my vision board, I put this house up there, and 10 years later, I got the house. Well, reality is, 10 years later, yeah, they may have got the house, but they worked their ass off in the meantime of those 10 years, which they actually forgot to employ in the book. So these are the things that I always talk about when talking about mindset, that I'm not into fluffy mindset stuff, but reality is I am actually quite good at it, and bringing it always back to actually having action in the business. And this is very important. So today I'm going to take you through some mindset stuff that I work with clients with, even though they think I'm not working on mindset, but I actually work with them on those mindset areas to get them where they actually need to in business. And it is such a powerful, powerful thing, the mind, on what it can do. And it's stuff that you've probably heard before. I was reading last night, and I'm just doing a bit of research on the stuff that I built for the webinar, and I thought, okay, let's go into Google. What is a successful person's mindset? You know what? You Google that, and I can tell you now, it always comes back to the main 10 things on mindset, on what the successful, inverted commas, what does successful mean, what it actually is. So let's get cracking, guys. There are a few slides in here. Let me just go there. Just before we start, I always like to pre-close a warning. This webinar is designed to help with helping you understand your business mindset. We take full responsibility for the positive changes to your business after implementation. So I wanted to give you that warning, guys. If you implement this stuff here, it should actually work. We've done the welcome, so howdy all. And what we're actually going to do, if you're new to GoToWebinar, I'm just showing you where you can raise your hand, you can minimize your screen. So if you guys are listening in on the background and looking at Facebook at the same time, you can minimize the stuff over here and type any questions in here. And hopefully you don't have that mindset of, you know what, I can multitask. And we can talk about multitasking later if you want to, because reality is it's not an actual good thing to multitask out there. So one of the things that we're going to just quickly, briefly about me. I've been in the business for about 20 years, or business arena for about 20 years, and I run a martial arts school as well. And in October, I'm heading over to Mexico and the US to grade for my fourth degree. So I'm looking forward to that. I've put a lot of hard work in over the last few years to get there. So bit about me, guys. I think most of you guys I'm looking on the call know about me. But there's really not much more to say, except I love what I do. I love working with business owners. I love seeing the results they get. And I love working with students and watching their confidence levels go from, oh my goodness, I can't kick, to don't touch me or don't look at me the wrong way because I can kick you hard type of situation. And I'm going to talk a bit about that as well as we go through the webinar. Now, before we start anything that we do in martial arts, whenever I start a class, we always need to warm up. So I'm going to get you guys to quickly do it. And if you're in an office full of people listening to this stuff, let's just raise our hands nice and high above our heads so we can stretch that back out. And okay, let's just bring it down. Oh, that feels good. Now, the other warm-up I'd like you to do, there's a questions bar on the GoToWebinar control panel there. Can I get you to type in what you believe your biggest mindset challenge is? And don't worry, I'm not going to send out any names. Good on you, Jeff. Cool. Let me know what your biggest mindset challenge is. Just go write it in the questions box there. What is your biggest mindset challenge that you actually have currently at the moment? What is holding you back? If you could get rid of this would be huge. Um, so one person says staff, awesome. Mindset around staff. We'll talk about that actually. That's one of the things I marketed about, having the right mindset around staff. What else? Okay, fear of failure, absolutely. Um, Getting too bogged down, absolutely. That's a huge one. Money, yes, money's a huge one as well. What else could be actually getting you to what are your mindset challenges? And for me, I know what mine is. It's not being able to help enough people, and I know that's definitely mine. I want to try and help as many people as I can, and sometimes that's a really really bad thing. Making enough time to concentrate on the business development, absolutely. Work and play balance, you've got it. Procrastination and distraction. I love when procrastination comes up in my webinars because I can tell dirty jokes, but I won't on the line. But it is. There are some very big mindset challenges around that type of area. So, guys, we all have challenges with part of our mindset, and there is always going to be a blockage there. I don't. It's not fussed if you're Bill Gates. He's going to have some mindset challenges. Or if you're just starting out in business not knowing what to do, you're going to have these mindset challenges. And the thing is, I want you to have a look at why are we actually doing this topic? The reason why is we want to actually have a look at our change of thinking. We want to look on what our mindset is actually saying. Some of you guys put up money as an issue or yourself as an issue. Have you actually sat down and actually asked yourself, why is this an issue? Why are you thinking that way? Why does it actually do this? What are you afraid of? Where's that fear coming from? And the thing is, whenever I work with business owners, I actually always look at them and actually ask the question, why are you thinking this way? Why does this be such a massive, massive, massive concern? If that wasn't a concern, what you could actually do about it. So I want you to think about why you're actually having these as a concern. If there are blockages in your mindset, then hey, why are they there? What can you do about them to actually fix them? And you're going to sit there and go, well, that's easy enough. I can go fix this, this, and this. It's not as easy as what you think. I don't want to be another one of these guys. Well, stop it. Stop thinking about it and just move on. What I want you to think about is, why are you thinking that way? What can you actually do to change your thinking so it's actually not the way you want to be with your mindset? This is very, very important that we actually want to actually have a look at. What is it? And is the same thinking we're going to do it? I'll use the procrastinating example right here. Oh, by the way, guys, if this is you're new to my webinars, there's a lot of work involved. You guys do a lot of the work, so we can actually go from there. Let's actually look at that. The procrastination side, not taking action. Why are you thinking that way? What is it? Is it because you don't know how to do that particular job? Is it because that you just don't like doing that particular job? What is the thinking behind the procrastination that is happening? And if you can ask yourself those 3 or 4 really simple questions, is why am I procrastinating about this job? Or particular item, what is it we need to do? If you're actually got issues with taking action, why are you actually not taking the action you need to? And actually ask yourself straight away, why am I thinking this way? If I've got a job to do and I know I've got a job to do, then reality is, shouldn't it just be as simple as going and doing it? Hell no. If it was always that easy, then everyone would have a booming business. Everyone would be able to be happy and enjoying life and all of that. But reality is, I want you to think about, why are you thinking that way? And I'm going to give you some really cool tools shortly on how you can actually help change that thinking straight up. And this is really, really important to understand, because the thing that I was looking at when talking about mindset and thinking about, hang on a second, is your business growing from strength to strength, or is it stagnating? And if it is stagnating, what are you thinking about? Why do you think it is actually stagnating? Is it because you're not doing the right marketing? Is it because you don't have a good sales technique? What is it that's actually doing it? And you've got to question, have I got the right mindset to where we get there? And I mentioned before, I did a research, and you guys go and do it later on. Type in, the successful mindset of a business owner, or, the right mindset to be an entrepreneur, or something like that. They always come back to exactly the same factors. Do you have the right goals? Are you thinking positively? It's all that wishy-washy stuff that you guys probably have some great goals. You may not. And if you don't, why don't you have any great goals? That could be the first start of changing your actual mindset. So when you look at business growth, and look at the mindset, are you actually thinking about business as, is it just a job? Are you thinking about it as, I've got to go and help everyone else out but not help myself? Are you thinking about business as what? And if I actually asked you, and I'll get you to write this down, what is business to you? Purely, what is business to you? What's your mindset about your business right now? What is business? And I want you to be very clear about the answers on what you're going to actually say here. What is business to you? What is your mindset around business? And again, I'll wait for some of the results to come up. You thought this was going to be an easy webinar where you sit back, have your hands on your head, and go, okay, let's just listen to Nathan waffle on. Hell no. Okay, great answer already. Financial independence. That's what business is. That's a good answer. And we're going to talk about that a tiny bit later. But what is your business? If I say business to you now, what does it come up? Part of your life and you love it? That's fantastic. Brilliant. Like that answer. Trying to achieve goals and have a better lifestyle. Love that. It's an opportunity to grow personally and professionally. Yep, absolutely. And financial independence. Enjoyment, what I do. Or else I don't perform. Have a passion and feeling it in a gut. Perfect. Independence and growth. Guys, we're all heading down the same paths here. As you can see, it's all about, lifestyle, financial independence, being your best, loving it, and all of that. Do you take that into your business every day? Do you actually look at those answers that you just provided, and is that your mantra? Do you put that up on your wall and know why you're actually doing it? And I'm going to take you through some of these things that you can do to help change your mindset around your business. I can give you all the tools in the world. Helping others while helping yourself. That's a great way to put it. So these are the things you want to actually have a look at. Are you doing that? You guys have got some great things there. I love it. Normally, whenever I do this type of webinar, I'll have someone that goes, because I can't work for anyone else. So my mindset is I might as well do it myself. So anyway, we're not going to go down that path. No one put it up there. So let's have a look at the first part of the mindset. I want you to think about, do you have a business, or do you have a job, or did you buy a job, or have you got a job, or are you self-employed? And I don't know if you've ever read it before, but Robert Kiyosaki's cashflow quadrant is a really, really cool example of the difference between a self-employed person and a business owner. If you haven't read it, it's a really cool book. I do have it on audio if anyone wants to borrow it, so please email me. I'm more than happy to share my audio. But it's a great book called Cashflow Quadrant. But I want to take you in a bit more on the mindset issue about this. A self-employed person, or when you've actually got a job, is when you're doing the same thing over and over and over again and not getting to that point where you are financially free. You don't have a team. You can't go and take holidays whenever you want. The business just purely relies on you. And when you do that, the thing that I always find when working with business owners is I have to look at my priority list, or the priority list for the business. And you, as the business owner, the first thing that you always do is have customer number one. And here's the mindset around this. And the reason why this is because if I don't actually serve my customers, they don't pay me. If I don't pay me, I don't put food on the table. If I don't put food on the table, then, I'm going to be stuffed. So I've got to actually focus everything and every part of my being on the customer. That's the first thing. Then family would normally come next, because let's face reality, guys. And you hear the story. They make movies on it about how the business owner or the worker is out there and misses the kids, softball football game or cricket game or whatever because they're always too busy working. But they do put family second. They put their team third. And the last thing on the list that they do is put themselves. They would be more than happy to go and work their ass off for 60, 70, 80 hours a week, forget to eat right, forget to do exercise, forget to, look after themselves, take the break that they actually need, run themselves down. They do everything for their customers, family, and team first. And this is the mindset behind a self employed person. You've got to have a look at, is that the mindset that I actually do? Am I jumping for my customers no matter what? And I want you to be careful. I'm not saying you need to jump for your customers. I'm going to show you in a second what we need to do. With a business owner mindset, this is where they actually do start having a bit of balance. But what they do is they do put themselves first. I've said it millions of times, guys. The airlines, when they actually do their safety demonstrations, they say, put your mask on first. You can't help anyone if you're going to be sitting there, lacking oxygen or not looking after yourself. You can't help anyone that way. Then family is second. Again, that is fine. But then they put their team third before their actual customers. They work more on their team than what they do delivering their customers their services that they actually need. And you're going to sit there and go, but hang on, I might be only a self-employed, I don't have any team. That's absolutely fine, but you should have a team around you no matter what. You should have your graphic designers, your accountants. These are all your teams. You need to work with them a lot more closely than what you actually do with your customers. And you're going to sit there and go, but hang on a second, that doesn't make sense. Here's the thing I want to suggest for you with this business owner mindset is the 80-20 rule. And if you don't know the 80-20 rule, guys, go and have a look at it. It's one of these things that I know a couple of you guys have just mentioned and you'd love a copy of the audio. Just send me an email, guys, and I'll get a copy of the audio to you. Here's the thing about the 80-20 rule that I want you to be aware about. If you're self-employed and let's say you're the only one in the business, 80% of your time needs to be busting your ass for the customers, no matter what. 4 days in your week is busting your butt for a customer, is working 12-hour, 14-hour days, 15-hour days, whatever you want to do, 80% of the time. The other 20% needs to be you. And how many people open up their calendar and their diary and slot out time for themselves? How many people actually do that? That's more of a rhetorical question there, everyone. You don't need to answer it. I want you to have a look at what that 20% entails. Does that 20% entail more marketing? Does that 20% entail more health? Does it entail you doing more exercise, for instance? Does it entail working on your own business education? What you can actually build that 20% to be you. And you know what? I highly recommend for self-employed people to actually do that. If you have no team behind you or anything like that, 80-20. As soon as you start getting team members on, you need to break the split up a tiny bit. 20% still the you, 20% on team, and then 60% on customers. Hang on, I just checked my maths on that one. Any accountants on the line? Yep, that's roughly right. 60% on customers, 20% on team, 20% on yourself. I see that as a very, very cool way to do it. And then as you expand as a business and as your team get more proficient, then you reduce your customer intake, you increase your time, and you increase the team time. And this is a thing I want you to actually have a think about when working in your business. That 20% is working on the business. You've heard the difference between in and on. That's such a really overused term these days. But this is when you're working on your business, working on your education, working on yourself. Now, I personally break that 20% up over different periods of different periods of days. For instance, at lunchtime, I'll probably be hitting on the mountain bike, going out for an hour and run the mountain bike for an hour. And while I'm doing that, I've got my phone playing an audio. I think I'm listening to the one at the moment, which yes, I am listening to the one at the moment. The one thing, sorry, great audio book. And that's me time. I go out and do that in the middle of the day and off you go. You might not have the flexibility to do that, but when is your time? And it's a really, really good thing to actually do and have that 20% of you time to actually work on the business or work on yourself or a mixture of both. So guys, I hope you understand what we're talking about. And probably a perfect example, I had a client who I sat down and I actually, husband and wife team, I says, "Oh, hubby, how's the business going?" "Oh, yeah, I'd like a bit more money and I'm working a lot of hours, but you know what, it's going all right." Typical man response. And I sort of looked at the wife and I went, "So how's the business going for you?" She looked at me, looked at the husband, and then broke down in tears for 2.5 minutes. And it's like, okay, then that probably wasn't the best of all questions. And next thing you know, it was like, he's never home. All he wants to do is talk about business. There is no time that we spend as a family anymore because the business has engrossed us. Well, reality is, guys, the strategy I put in was really easy for these guys. At 4 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon, you are going home. You're going to spend time with the kids. You are going home and actually going to engage with your family. You know what? Go fast forward 6 months and the business is going better than what it ever is. The family's happy, and it's 4 o'clock every single day now. The Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, the Friday. And we've decreased the time because there was actually some balance there finally. It can work for you guys. You got to understand that, if you sat down and spent 20% of your day, i.e., full day a week, working on marketing or something to that effect, just you do a full day a week, how much bigger your business would actually be. It'd be quite, it'd get there pretty quickly. These are the things I want to think about. Now, for all the people who are going, "I can't afford to do that because if I went and did that, I would lose money." Yeah, you would. But your business should be set up that 4 days should be enough to make enough money in your business. 4 days of working time should be enough to make the money, to hit your break evens and your profit targets. Enough. If it's not, how can we restructure your business? Now that's a conversation for another webinar, or send me a line. I'm happy to talk to you about it and say, hang on a second. Now, I want you to think about that. 4 days. This is a mindset. 4 days, working week should be enough to actually cover your business expenses, revenue, etc., of 4 days worth of working. And if you don't have that, that's probably one of the goals that should be put in place quite easily. It's something that you should think about. So, guys, I really want you to actually think about the 80-20, about the amount of time you're spending on yourself, and book it in your diary. Please lock it in there. Lock in when you're going for a run. And we're going to talk about going for runs and health and all of that very shortly. Now, the other thing I want you to start looking at, um, if you guys have worked with me before, you definitely understand this. What part of the line are you living? When something happens to you, do you have a lot of blame, excuses? Do you point fingers? Do you actually sweep it under the rug and don't worry about it? Here's a perfect example of denial. This is what I love about denial. You can put a sales target in place, and let's say it's 10 grand. All of a sudden, you make 8 grand. The most denial would be is, "Oh, I didn't get it this month. That's okay. I'll hit it next month." Instead of going, "Oops, I didn't hit it this month. I'm going to go and make 12 grand next month." That's denial. Just saying I'll get it next month is purely denial. Excuses on why things are happening, blaming others why, instead of yourself. So whereabouts are you? Whereabouts are you with your business? Are you taking ownership, accountability, responsibility? I've got a really great client, been with me for about 3.5 years now. And I walked in and sat with the team of 20, sat with the team and actually explained this to them. And they've turned around and gone, blah, 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 blah. And what we did is we actually printed this out, whacked it on everyone's desk, and started calling people on it. Guess what happened over the next 6 months? We lost half the team. Literally half the team gone. Why? Because they wanted to stay below the line all the time. They didn't want to actually take their own ownership and accountability. And that was a massive hit to the business. Fast forward 3.5 years, they have a team that is just phenomenal. They have the ability to, the business owner is now pretty much franchised the whole business. They're now doing workshops to help people in the industry have better teams and better businesses. And they're off doing workshops, and they are just thriving like nothing else because they actually understand what taking ownership and accountability and responsible is. So whereabouts are you on the line? I look at students that come to my martial arts school and, they start up and 6 weeks later they sort of like go, "Oh, look, just cancel it. I just don't have time to do it," and all of this type of stuff, or "It's too hard," and all of that. I look at below and above the line behavior of one of my students. She's been with me 6 years now. 2 years into her training, she got diagnosed with MS, which is gradually eating away at her. She'll run down the middle of the hall and literally fall flat on her face. Her legs will give away and just bang, fall flat on her face. She gets up, she keeps running. There is no excuses, there is no anything. She just goes and gets the job done. And you know what? At the end of the day, she's won the Spirit Award 5 years in a row at our school because she has just got amazing, amazing spirit, and she does not have any excuses on why things are happening. And she will be going for her black belt in November. You know, what type of mindset is that? I just think that's absolutely phenomenal. And I look at her mindset and I look at all the other people going for black belt, and I can tell you now her spirit and mindset is so much bigger than everyone else's. You know, that's just inspiration when you think about it. And she has no excuses. She'll turn up to every training session, no matter what, irrelevant of what's happening, irrelevant the pain that she's actually in. She will turn up in no matter what. You know, this is the thing about business, guys. If we could all have that same mindset to the business, oh my goodness, watch what's going to happen. So let's start talking about passion. This is an interesting mindset. You've all heard it, guys. I'm regurgitating stuff you've probably heard. Love what you do, and everything else will fit for itself. Passion is awesome. You've heard it all before. We're passionate about probably being healthy. That's great. But we have a look at these two pictures here. I'm sure everyone's smiling when they eat a salad. You know, reality is they're probably not. Some probably do. I know I definitely don't. But here's the thing, guys, and I want you to understand this mindset out there. Everyone talks about passion and, you've got to be passionate about what you do. Well, I actually disagree with that because, yes, I am. I like what I do. I love what I do. I love dealing with business owners. I love imparting my knowledge, but it's not, am I absolutely passionate about it? Now clients are on the line going, oh, well, you should be because that's what we're buying off you. Well, not really. This is the thing. I'm passionate about golf, but you know what? Am I making a crap load of money out of golf? Hell no. Just because I'm passionate about something doesn't mean I can make a living out of it. And I really want you to actually understand that point. Everyone says that you've got to be passionate. I agree you've got to be passionate. Don't get me wrong, but you've got to be passionate about one key area. Here's the thing. I said, yeah, it's Friday, at the beginning of the webinar. Yeah, it's Friday here in Australia, any which way. But are you waking up? Do you wake up Mondays unpassionate? Do you wake up Mondays going, oh, friggin' another working week? You've got to have a look and ask yourself that question. Why are you actually asking that? Personally, I just don't like waking up any days. I'm not a morning person, guys. I do my best work in the evenings. So I'll be grumbling in the morning for an hour until I actually wake up. People on the line know what I'm talking about. But it's not because I'm not passionate about what I do. It's just that I'm not a morning person. It's as simple as that. But you've got to have a look at, you may not be passionate about the business. It doesn't mean you can't make a crap load of money out of it. It doesn't mean that you can't have a successful business. I want you to be clear about one thing, and this is really, really clear. You've got to be passionate about the outcome and the results it's going to actually provide you. And I really want you to actually understand that point. You may have a business that you may not be passionate about. You hate getting up on Monday mornings, but what is the results? And I want you to think about those results. Who here loves getting up, to go and do exercise at 6 a.m. at the crack of dawn? There's not many people I know that actually wake up at 6 a.m. going, yeah, at 6 a.m. I get to go for an awesome 10K run. Let's go. Or I've got to get in the car and go to the gym. Yay, I'm excited about that. But, what are the results that you're going to get from that? And here's the thing, guys. If you struggle to go out and do exercise, if you struggle to put the marketing in place, if you struggle or procrastinate, I'll use that word procrastinate, forget thinking about the task. Think about the outcome. Think about what it is. And here's what I want you to, I'm going to give you another suggestion. I'm going to challenge you to do this. Why are you doing what you're doing? Grab a photo of what you're doing, put it up on your desk, put it up on your computer screen, and actually sit there and go, you know what? If your passion is about making a family that's going to be, huge, making a family. That's probably not the right words, everyone. If you're passionate about your family and having a good lifestyle for them, take a picture of your family, whack it up on your computer screen. Next time you've got a job and you're hating what you're doing, look at the family and go, nope, this is why I'm actually doing it, because I know the outcome or the result is going to work. Everyone sits there and thinks about the task. If you don't get off your butt and go do the exercise, you probably probably more than likely thinking about the task. Who here loves the results of exercise? I'm going to put your hands up. After your exercise, are you glad you done it? Let's see hands up here. Absolutely. I can see quite a few of you guys have actually put your hands up. This is the thing that I want you to think about, from a mindset point of view. Have a think about the results that's going to occur from it. If you've got this task to go and do that's absolutely awesome, you know, you've got to look at, if you're looking at a task that you just hate to do and you've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, finding other excuses why you're not doing it, think about the outcome or the result. Everyone feels good about actually doing it. And I can guarantee now everyone here on the line has had a task that they've actually gone, "Oh, I don't really want to do this, but I've got to do it because I've got a deadline against it." They do the task and go, "Damn, that wasn't too bad." I can guarantee that's happened to you. These are the things I want you to think about when you start slipping into, "I don't particularly want to do this, I don't want to do this." Either go back to something like a picture or something like that, or if you're crawling out of bed wanting to go do that next piece of exercise, and you're thinking, "Oh, I don't really want to go, look, it's raining outside, it's this and this," you know what? Say to yourself, "Hang on, what is my outcome? What am I going to feel like after I've actually done that?" Watch what's going to happen. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal on the outcomes that you actually get. Now, repeat that times 52 weeks of the years, 7 days, maybe 6 days a week, because we do need a rest day. What the results will be at the end of that. And think about everything in marketing. Think about everything in sales. Think about everything in KPI reporting. All of these tasks need to be done in your business. Think about the results on what you're actually going to have out of it by focusing in those particular areas. So I really want you to actually have a look at that. And I'm not going to spend too long on the next slide. This one's here about why are we in business for. We've already discussed it. You guys are in business for a lifestyle. Lifestyle is time and dollars. This is what your business is providing you. Now, here's the thing, right? Actually, I'm going to talk about it a bit later. But here's the thing I want you to actually think about. You're in business for that, time and money. That's what a business, tangible results that can actually provide you. It's going to take a while in business if you're a self-starter to actually get to that point. It's like anything. The person that actually creates that pill to make you skinny is going to be a billionaire overnight because people are looking for the easy ways out. Do I actually discourage clients from working 15 hours a week? No. Though I do discourage them if they're actually doing the stuff that's not going to actually help them or their business, and if they're fluffing around and doing the wrong things, I will discourage that. But if you're doing the right things in business, I encourage doing 15 hours a week every now and then. Name an entrepreneur or name someone who's made it really successful. They say they haven't had 2 years of working 7 days a week. It's very rare that it actually doesn't happen. Because here's the thing I want you to think about, and I want you to actually really have a reality check on this mindset is, what is your expectation? How quickly do you actually want your business to actually be? How big do you want it? And what is your level of expectations? And here's the thing. I've got 2 clients that I'm working with that has their business been running for more than 15 years and more. Now, I don't know if your business has been running 15 years and more, but you know what? 10 years is normally, and I'm going to use the word normally the time that it actually takes for a business to go to that next phase, which means that it's pretty much operating by itself. That's the next phase of business once you start. So, if you've only been in business 4 years, have you got a different level of expectation? It takes a while to get you where you need to. I know businesses have been operating for 6 years and they're still slugging it out. They're still struggling with cash. And is that because they're never going to make a success? Hell no. It's probably just because that they've been focusing on getting the full foundations absolutely right, because sooner or later that business will actually explode. And it does happen. I want you to realize that, guys. It definitely does happen. You've just got to have the right mindset to actually hang in there. The thing that I look at, everyone sits there and goes, "Oh wow, they're a billionaire." Mark Zuckerberg or whatever his name is, the Facebook guys, that took 8 to 9 years for it to actually become commercially viable. 8 to 9 years. Everyone just sees the results now. And it's the iceberg effect. And I'll talk to you about that in a second, about the reality. But these clients that have been running their businesses for 15 years, one of only works 3 hours a week in their business, which is just to touch base with their senior management and say, how's everything going? Let me check the figures. Let me check the bank account. Right. My working week's done. I'm going to go off and go. The other one has a very, very nice boat down in the harbour, bought a BMW in cash, but that was 15 years of hard work. And I'm going to explain those two mindsets different to everyone else's that I actually come across about what they're actually doing. Because most people's expectation is to actually have an overnight success. Because all they see, and I will talk about the iceberg effect, all they see is what's up top. They see the end result. They don't see all the hard work, the sacrifices, or anything else that they've been put into right here. And I want you to have a look at your mindset right now. Do you think you can be an overnight success in your business? And if you can, excellent. If you have something that you can deliver to the market straight up, excellent. Reality is, though, most, and I'm going to say most, there has been some overnight successes. I have no doubt about that. But there has, most people will take a good 10 years to get where they actually need to get to in business. So I want you to be very clear about that. And I remembered I spoke to you about those two business owners in 15 years or more. Here's the thing I want you to actually think about. Your business needs to be boring. Right? This is the secret to having a very, very good business. You need to learn how to put up with being bored. And you're going to sit there and go, what the hell are you talking about? Hopefully you are. Hopefully you're questioning that, right? Here's the thing that I want you to actually, here's the thing I want you to actually think about with being bored. Right? What happens is most business owners will sit there and go, oh, I'm going to put a marketing strategy in place. They didn't get any phone calls that week and sit there and go, well, that didn't work. I'm going to go try something else. Right? Or they sit there and go, oh, this product's not really running off the shelf. I don't have any clients. I don't have any clientele. Guess what happens? They go, oh, I better change the product. I better change this. I better change that. I better go over and do something different. I better go over and do something that. You know, here's the thing, right? You've got to learn how to be, bored with the product that you've got and just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and over again. The thing is, you've got to look at that. Successful business is about doing the same thing over and over and over again. And these two businesses I'm talking about very rarely change what they actually did in business. They did not change their model or their product delivery or their product service, not much at all. They tweaked it. Don't get me wrong. You have to keep up with latest advances. You have to keep up with latest technology. But what they did is the overall business did not change much whatsoever. They got used to being bored and bored and bored and bored and bored and bored. So many times I see people go, oh my goodness, my product's not working. It's not there. Well, have you done the right marketing? Have you got it out there? Have you really tested it? You've got to learn to be bored. And this is what it's all about. I look at Facebook today, and Facebook, when it first came out, not much has changed. You think about it, not much has changed. The layout's changed slightly. Of course, there's got better ability. Yes, they've added that if your posts want to be seen, you have to pay for that. Welcome to business, guys. They're a business as well. But not much has changed, and it probably won't change for another 10 years and 15 years. It won't. Are you trying to do too much? Are you making too many changes without giving the ability in your business? And this is a mindset that you need to actually look at. I was in a room. I did a course called Money and You many years ago. It was a great course. It was a lot of wake up calls for me, and we had 50 high powered business coaches, CEOs. I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of money on this course, and one of the activities during the course was, right, we're going to play a hoops game, right? I don't know if you remember quoits, the ringing the hoops and all of that, where you just throw it in there, throw it over, and get the rings on the stand. We call it quoits here in Australia, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll send you a picture later. But they said, right, If you paid for four rings, it'll be $1. If you stand 4 foot away from the goal, you throw the four quoits on, you get all four, you make 10 cents. So you get $1.10 back. If you actually, and they had 5 feet, you get $1.20. 6 feet, you get $1.30. Boom, 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 boom. And at 18 feet, you'll make $5. Right? And it's really funny. And the game was, we had 2 hours to achieve it. We needed to know how to make $1 million using this quote game. And everyone sat there and went, well, okay. And you had all these high powered business coaches and all of that type of stuff standing at the 18-foot line saying, I'm going to hire a team. I'm going to put the team up there. I'm going to throw the rings down. They're going to catch them. They're going to put it all over. And it's going, nope, you're not going to do that because, that's not part of the rules of the game. You know, all of these high powered business coaches in 2 hours, no one got the answer. And you know what? It's so simple, guys. The answer is really simple. Go and buy four rings, stand at the 4 foot line, make you 10 cents. Go buy another four rings, stand at the 4 foot line, go get 20 cents because you've just done it twice, 10 and 10, 20. Then go and get 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents, 60 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents, 90 cents, $1. Now go buy 8 rings. Right. Now you're going to make 20 cents each row. Right. Go and buy and expand the business that way. It's really funny that we all try and have this raging success straight up, but in our mind saying, why isn't it happening this quickly? Because you need to learn that you've just got to do the same thing over and over and over and over again to get where you need to get to. And it's very important we learn how to be bored with this. Thank you, Robert. Woohoo! Boring accountant agrees with that. Yay! So we've got an accountant's approval on that one. Guys, and here's the thing, right? Black belt. We all look at black belt and we think about, what black belt is, and it's a sign of, discipline. It's a sign of this and it's a sign of that. Guys, you've probably heard me talk about this before. The only difference between a white belt and a black belt is the amount of lessons that have been put in, the amount of effort that puts in. The only difference, if you're in an industry and there's someone who's made a raging success in your industry and you look up to them, the only difference between you and them is the amount of time that they've actually done it and the amount of energy and effort they've put in. And that is the only difference. I can guarantee that now. And some of you guys are going to go, but this person has these skills and this person has these skills. Well, you know what? Skills can be taught, guys. Attitude can't. Skills can be taught. So, if they've got a different attitude than you, maybe look at their attitude and how they actually represent themselves. Don't look at their skills. You've got your own set of skills you need to look at. And that is the only difference between black belt and a white belt. It's how many lessons they've actually been done. Now, I've got to be very careful these days about black belts because, I see people giving out black belts to, 7-year-old kids and saying they're a black belt. They don't have the mental maturity to wear a black belt. I'm sorry, but I'm very what's the word for it? I'm passionate about this because I am passionate about my martial arts. They don't have that. And here's the thing: a lot of people these days get talked up about having having stuff that they shouldn't. Kids turning up to school and getting participation certificates. You know what? I think it's great to reward someone for their energy and effort. I think it is good. But reality is the world doesn't reward us for just turning up. You turn up and you have to actually put some awesome effort and energy in. You're up against 20 people when you go for a job interview. Guess what? One person's going to get that job. The others are going to, I hate using this word, but are going to lose. So, this is the attitude I want you to think about. Have you got the black belt attitude, which is effectively, I'm going to put energy and effort into everything that I've actually got. And that's the thing I want you to actually think about when looking at an actual black belt and what it actually means. So I talked about in our marketing, the webinar, about 7 key areas of business. And I'm going to give you a tip on each one of these about the mindset you need around marketing, sales, operations, etc. So we'll start off with the first one, marketing. Okay, here's the mindset that I want you to think about regarding marketing. Reality is any marketing will work for you. You've just got to keep going at it. There's only ever been one time that I've actually put a marketing piece in place that I spent $3,500 in that did not work. I did not get one thing from it, not one. And that was an ad in a newspaper, in a martial arts magazine, actually. I spent $3,500 thinking that, there'll be business owners that read the martial arts magazines, and that was the only thing that I never actually got it out. I have put leaflet drops out there and I've made business. I have done SEO and I've created business. I've done Google AdWords, made business. I've done everything. But what I did is I just didn't do it straight up. I did it over a period of time. So you've got to have a look at marketing will work and it will work. You've just got to keep at it. I the business owners that go, oh, I did a leaflet drop to 20 homes and I got no one. I'm never doing that again. Oh my friggin' goodness. If leaflet drops are going to be a good way for you to grow your business, do them. Do 5,000 homes. And then 2 months later, do 5,000 homes again. And then 2 months later, do 5,000 homes again. This is a thing that you've actually got to look at with your marketing. That's the mindset I want you to actually think about. I've got clients on this call at the moment that actually spend about 6 grand a month on Google AdWords and SEO. 6 grand a month. Do they return the business? Hell yeah. And I'll talk about risk and reward later on. So I want you to actually think about the marketing that you've got to continue a task at it no matter what. The other mindset around sales is really important. Okay. And this is a mindset that I like everyone. Have a process that you follow religiously. Have questioning that you ask every single one. Everyone should have a set of sales questions that they need to ask their prospective client. If you're an esthetician on the call, here's the things that you've got to look at in terms of your sales process. Have a great positioning statement. Let them know what your return process, when I mean return process, how many times they need to come back and see you for this treatment to be effective. What are your retention rates? Have those questions in place. Always have questioning in place that you use on absolutely everyone, no matter what. And that's the mindset you need to go. You've got to ask the same questions all the time, over and over and over again. And you get that process down pat. In your operations and customer service, the mindset I want you around this is my customer service killing my profits? And you go, hang on, customer service killing my profits? Are you giving 5-star customer service at 2-star rates? Sometimes we over-service. So I want your mindset to be able to go value. What is the value I'm giving to my customer? And how am I actually making sure that I don't over-service the customer? Because the biggest killer that I find with most business owners times is they over-service the customer. They don't get value from it whatsoever. So I want you to think about that mindset. Finance and admin. Here's the thing I want you to think about mindset on that. Finance is a numbers game. Business is a numbers game. Know your numbers. Okay. If you don't know your numbers, then hey, have a look at it. My clients are just about to be released a KPI spreadsheet that they have to fill in every single month, and they're going to know exactly what their numbers are, what their marketing numbers are, what their sales conversions are, what their profits are, what their GPs are. They're going to know exactly what their numbers are. If there's one thing in business that you can get good at and learn the skill is knowing your numbers in business. And that's the mindset I want you to actually think about. The mindset around team. Okay, here's the biggest one. If you do not trust your team, get rid of them. Okay, and this is really important. If your team is not doing the job, give them their warning straight away. You've got to be able to trust your team to do the job. And your systems, you have to follow them as well. You have to follow your own systems. That's very, very important to actually understand. Do you know most business owners will put systems in place and then just change them depending on what customer they're talking to today? No, follow your systems, irrelevant of who it is. If you've got good systems, the team are able to follow the good systems and you follow those systems as well. And the business mindset around you, well, guess what? We've just had a whole heap of them. We're going to actually have a lot more in a minute coming up now. So they're probably the biggest things around mindset that I'd actually get you guys to have a look at those 7 key areas. No matter what, they are really good mindset things. So again, I want to be careful about, people say you've got to fake it till you make it. I agree with that. I am good with saying those words, you fake it till you make it. But I want you to actually be clear about what you're actually faking and who you're pissing off in the meantime. And that sounds really funny, but I have seen people try and fake it, sell someone a lot of stuff and then all of a sudden not being able to deliver on it, and gave them a big name. It is dangerous. It can set you up for disappointment. The other thing is, the way you see yourself, if you always say, I'm not a very good business owner, well, that's probably how you're going to see yourself. But, you know, you know, change your wording. Maybe change your wording to be, I'm on my way to be a very good business owner. There's probably a way you actually see it. So I won't get into too much of these details regarding how you see yourself and fake it till you make it type of stuff. But reality is, be careful that if you actually see yourself as a $2 billion a year entrepreneur, and you're only earning 20 grand, the little voice inside your head that's going to knock you down every single time is going to go, "Bull crap, you're not $2 billion worth." You know, set yourself small goals, achieve them, and watch what will actually happen with how you actually see yourself. Very important to actually do that. I think small progression comes before larger progression. A lot of people talk about vision boards and all of that. I don't have a vision board. I have a goal ball, and they're the goals that I actually want to achieve at the moment. My ultimate vision, I know what my ultimate vision is: full-time martial arts school while being an international speaker. I want to go and, speak in front of groups around the world about business and all of that, and have a full-time martial arts school. That's my long-term goal. If I do the small steps that I'm doing at the moment, I can guarantee I'm going to get there. So maybe see yourself in the small steps first and actually achieve those smaller steps. And then, just have that in the background of what you actually want to achieve in life. So, the other thing is, these are stuff you've probably heard about before, guys. So I want to be careful on what we're doing, or what I'm saying here, but who you associate yourself with. And I'm going to bring this down to golf. If I go and hang out with 27 handicappers when I go for a round of golf, which is, for those people who don't know, golf is a high handicap, means they're not very good golfers, unless, of course, no, we won't go there. One of the things, people know what I meant when said don't go there. One of the things is, I've in the last 4 weeks of golf, I've played with free handicappers. They've all been off free, so they're really good golfers. My golf game improved. I had 4 really good rounds and games in a row, and I had really, really good rounds. I was hitting it well. I was trying to keep up with them. I was striving to be, just as good as them while I was actually playing golf. Here's the thing I want you to look at: who are you associating yourself in business with? When you go to the networking events, do you go and sit with a group of people that are always the same little whinge, this isn't happening, we don't like this about the group, we don't want that? Or are you going to the people who are actually going, yeah, this is cool, love the energy, this is awesome? And actually, who are you associating yourself with? You've probably heard, go and associate yourself with the free people that you strive to be. You've probably heard all of that. How do you actually do it? I use the martial arts principle in this all the time. When I sit there and go in my class, radio guys, go find a partner to go work with. When I was training to get my black belt, I would be at the back of the class, and you will see me scream up the middle of the hall and straight to a black belt. Right? I want to train with you. I want to actually pick myself up. I want to get to your level. This is where I want to be. Who are you actually associating with yourself? Who are you striving for? Who are you actually making sure that you're looking at how this person is actually getting me where I need to get to? And this is really, really important to actually understand. That person and that person who you're actually hanging out with is so important. Emotion. I'm emotional at the moment. It's been a big week. Guys, here's a mindset that I want you to look at. And most people make their decisions about their life and careers and their business from an emotional point of view and assumptions. When a great business owner looks at their business, they base their decisions on fact. Right? Most people will not sack an employee because they feel that, oh no, but if they go out there and I let them go, they're not going to have a job and all of this type of stuff, and all the emotion kicks in. That's not a fact-based decision on the business. I don't know how many times I've actually worked with business owners to let business team members go, and I've had to be sitting in a room. I've been there while they've actually done it. Because reality is, you need to base it on fact. the decision is that employee is not good for the business. So, what emotion are you actually carrying to your business every day? And I want you to actually think about this. Excuse my voice going. I really want you to think about that, about the decisions you're actually making, what you're actually putting in place. So sorry, I'm looking at the comments from a couple of my clients and associates. Yes, Naga and Chopper, thank you very much. So what is the emotions you're actually putting into place? What emotions are you dragging with your business? And when you're making a decision, especially when looking at your numbers, are you making an emotional decision, which I highly recommend not to? Make a decision around fact. Fact-based thinking is way better for your business than emotional thinking. Hard to do, because no one wants to be a cold-hearted bastard here. Maybe I should get back at the people who are putting those comments in. But you know, don't you? It's not about being a cold-hearted bastard, because the decisions you need to make dictate your future, dictate your livelihood, dictate your lifestyle, dictate your money. It dictates your time that you're using. So if you're basing your decisions on emotion, and I'm not saying that's not a bad thing either, guys. You have to be sympathetic in some ways. But on the flip side, if it's not right for the business, you've got to cut all those emotions out, and go from there. So have a think about that and which way you're leading. Um, Discipline. I'm only going to be one on this. We talked about discipline before. This is about, are you disciplined enough? And I'm going to talk to the procrastinators here, or the people that don't go and do their exercise because they come up with all their excuses while not to. They're busy. They got too much time. Oh my goodness, we won't go there. Here's the thing about discipline, and I'm going to. It's really simple. Discipline is the difference between a dream and an accomplishment. And that's it. You want a brilliant business, you have to be disciplined at it. You talk martial arts being disciplined. The only reason I actually earned my black belt after 5 years in martial arts is not because I was a great kicker. It's not because I was a great striker or a great thrower or a great, whatever. I can do them okay. Some of them above average, some of them below average. I'm okay at my techniques. Most of the entrepreneurs out there and the successful business people are okay at their business. What they have actually done is they've just chosen to be disciplined. I chose to turn up to every class when it was on. I chose to actually train hard when I was actually in there. This is discipline. I stay healthy because I choose to, even though I don't like it, to crawl out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, whether it's raining or not, and go for a bike ride, or go for a mountain bike ride, or go for a run. 8 o'clock Sunday morning, I'm training my provisionals up to go for their black belts at the end of the year. Do I want to get up at 7:30 in the morning to go training? Hell no. But I do it because I know that's the discipline you need to get where you need to get to. So have a think about discipline, and if you need to write discipline across the roof of your bedroom when you get up in the morning, do that. Again, look at the attitude and the mindset you wake up with straight away. If you hate Mondays, find out why and stop hating Mondays. Look at it. Even if you look at Mondays being, 5 days closer to Friday, if you want them to be, have a look at that mindset when you're looking at it. And I know a few of you guys on the call are going to laugh at this, especially knowing me for so long. Burnout does actually happen, guys. The best thing you can do is actually do have a rest every now and then. Now, we're not talking about being an idyllic beach like this. Yes, I'd love to be there, but just find that balance. This week, and most clients know, I only had three clients appointments this week. Normally, I'd have 7 or 8, because I needed a rest. I had 3 weeks of just mass amounts of time, energy that I've put into the business and put into myself. This week I've rested. I did not train as hard in Hapkido as what I should have. We did fun stuff in class. We didn't have hard classes this week. Rest is always good. So have the mindset to rest. And I'm not getting all biblical on you. Please don't take it that way. This isn't a religious webinar, but God made the earth, supposedly made the earth. Again, I've got to be careful on where I'm going with this. But the 7th day he rested. Have a think about this with your business as well. Have a think about what rest will actually do to you. Very important. I've got 3 more slides, guys, and we'll be done. Here's the thing I want you to think about, and I disagree with this slide, and that's why I actually put it up. I think every risk you take has a reward, some way, shape, or other. I don't think there's reward one way and risk the other way. I think risk and reward all come in as a bundle. Is it worthwhile going and getting a bank loan, taking 5 grand, taking 5 grand out and investing it in a full big marketing campaign? Is that a risk that you're willing to take? You know, most business owners aren't willing to take those risks. And that's why the business doesn't move where they need to. You've got to be a risk taker sometimes to get where your business needs to. Now, there's a difference between uncalculated and calculated risk. Take calculated risks, everyone. The mindset should be calculated risk. If you can put a marketing person on board, I can tell you now, every marketing person that I actually deal with, and I'm not bagging marketing persons, I ask for a guarantee. If you say that this is going to work, I want to guarantee that you will continue doing this until we get the results that we actually want. Right? Now, not many people want to put those guarantees in place. Why not? These are the calculated risks that you guys need to look at. What else should you be actually risking at the moment? Would you be willing to risk $500,000 and put it all on black? Hell no, because that's a very calculated risk. Uncalculated risk. But would you take $500,000, go put on a full-time business development manager, let them go out and you actually hire them correctly, and next thing you know, you've tripled your business and being able to pay that $500,000 back in 2 years? Here's the thing I want you to think about, and the mindset is start taking some risk. And here's the thing about a calculated risk, and this is a challenge I want to throw across to you guys. What happens if you turned around and said, I'm going to take one risk a month that I'd normally not take in my business, and actually book it in your diary and say, here it is? What happens if you actually went and did that? What risk are you going to take in your business? I was speaking to Ashley the other day, and I said to Ash, Ash, we've got this new program happening, great new program, and, do we actually take the risk? Do we go and take 5 grand? Do we go and put Google AdWords out there? Let's go and smash it across the country and go and do it. And she's gone, actually, let's not do that. Let's actually do it ourselves. And instead of getting someone else to do it, I reckon we can do it ourselves. And if it hasn't worked in 2 weeks' time, and when I mean it hasn't worked, we haven't got it running, we haven't got it operating, then we'll actually go and do that. Go and ask yourself, guys, what risks will I take every single month? 12 risks a year. I want you to step outside your comfort zone. It's very important to actually do that and whack that in your diary. It's a really good mindset thing. What risk are you going to take today? And it could be, forget doing risk on business, but what about personally? If you say you'd never jump out of an airplane and take that risk, go and do it. Calculation-wise, here in Australia, you've got more chance of being eaten by a shark than jumping out of an aeroplane. We don't have that many shark attacks. So, take the risk. Take calculated risk and put one down in your diary every single month to actually do. Now, we're almost done, guys. What questions are you asking yourself every day to help your mindset? Now, write this book down. I believe everyone needs to read this book or listen to this book. It's Triggers by Marshall Goldsmith. Right. And how he actually helps successful CEOs get where they need to is nightly questioning. Right? My clients know all about this at the moment, is do nightly questions. And you know what? This has improved my health already by me doing this in the last 2 weeks. Why? Because I was sitting down and one of my nightly questions is, did I do my best to eat healthy today? And then you judge yourself 1 out of 10 out of that. And you know what? I was sitting down going, I could really use a Coke. Went up to the counter to go buy a Coke, and I said, hang on a second, I've got to score that tonight. Is that the best thing for me to be doing? And I went up and I said, can I have a water, please? Bugger. But you know what? Mentally, I went, I've got to actually put something on that. Okay, I don't want to actually put anything less than a 7 on there today. I'm not getting a Coke. I refuse to actually get a Coke. So, what questions are you asking yourself? And have them out. I've got a great template if you want it, guys, that you just fill out month by month. You put your questions down, 10 to 14, 10 to 20, and just add those questions there and answer them every single night. It's a really cool thing to actually change the way you actually do your mindset. And guys, attitude is everything. I don't care. When you employ someone, employ them on their attitude, not their skills. If you personally are doing something, do it with attitude. It's going to make a difference. Anything you do is your attitude. If you've got an attitude, you hate Mondays, and guess what? Monday rolls around, you're going to hate Mondays. Change your attitude. If you want to change your business, change your attitude about your business. And you're going to say that's easier said than done. Actually, it probably is. If you go and implement at least 3 things that I've actually spoken about just then, today, I will guarantee your attitude will change. I can guarantee that, guys. And how about this? I'm going to put a guarantee. If it doesn't, if you show me that you've implemented those three things and that has not changed your attitude, I will give you 3 months worth of business coaching. I will guarantee that. 3 months. You've got to prove to me you do it, because you can change your attitude, guys. It's your attitude that actually changes your business. So have a think about the attitude that you've got. Have you got a black belt attitude? Have you got a business owner attitude? What have you got? Or are you still in a self-employed attitude, living below the line and having all those excuses getting where you need to get to? So I'm going to throw that challenge out there to everyone. So guys, if you want to find out where you're at in business, I've literally just launched it. This is the first time I've launched it. Log on to blackbeltbusiness.com.au, do a questionnaire, and I'll actually show you what belt you're in business. I ask all questions about what you're doing with your marketing, your sales, your systems, your team, your finance and admin. It'll take you about 3 minutes to answer the questions, and I'll show you what belt you're in and what you need to do to actually improve your business from where you're at the moment. So do that when you get a chance. Now, like anything, whenever I do talks, guys, I want to hear from you. Go whack it in the questions area. What was the biggest thing you actually got from today? And Susan, it was Marshall Goldsmith on that. And yes, Susan, you can definitely have a copy of the template. Can I get you to email me? Instructor, hang on, I'll write it in the thing here. Email it to instructor. If you want the audio books and all of that, just email me, instructor at blackbeltbusiness.com.au. I've just whacked it in the answers to the question, guys, my email address. So just email me. More than happy to get you that information. So, number one thing you got from today, everyone, I want to hear from you. Number one thing, 80-20 rule is awesome. I love it, Rachel. It really works for me big time. It really does. Good. Not to overservice customers. Yep, time, energy, and effort is the only difference between a person you look up to. I totally agree with that point, Cody. I really do. I looked up to the black belts. I now am one. Now I'm looking up to my grandmaster, and that's where I want to be. Many years off, but the only difference is the time and energy and effort put in. Great. And Robert, always put yourself first. And I love that. 12 calculated risks per year. Just do it. Just say this is what I'm going to be risky on today. That's a good one. Yep. Always positive and proactive, guys. There's a good point. You can't stay positive all the time. What it is how long you stay negative for. Go and beat yourself up. Go and live below the line 5 minutes a day. I have no problems with that. I do it all the time. Funny, this morning I woke up as grumpy as all hell. I did. I woke up so grumpy it wasn't funny. And here I am doing a mindset webinar, and I woke up grumpy. And I know why I'm grumpy. I'm having a rest week. Why am I grumpy? Because I'm having a rest week? Because I haven't done any hard exercise. I didn't exercise on Tuesday. Didn't exercise on Thursday. I'm having a rest week. But me without exercise, I'm grumpy, right? It's okay to be negative sometimes. It's just how long you spend now. Are you aware of it? That's the thing. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Thanks for that feedback, Sora. And hi, hubby. All good. Love to catch up. And calculated risk is good. And carry personal challenges, great attitude and discipline. All right, guys. Mindset is the biggest key to your business. Having the right strategies, of course, will help. Happy to help any of you guys if you need strategies for your business, to implement. But let's have the right mindset. So, guys, have an awesome Friday, or if it's Thursday evening for the US guys. I'm looking forward to catching up with you shortly, and I'm looking forward to finding out what belt you are in business. So go do the questionnaire and let me know. All right, have a good weekend, everyone. Keep safe, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day.